Good morning. This is Mijanur Rahman from Toronto. I am the author for the Financial Freedom of the Fictional Financial Plan and the video series to understand the book. I have this is all that those videos are also available on the Financial Planning Tacit Knowledge series, which is the first series that I produced in year 2016, shortly after I published the book. Or probably during some of those videos may have been produced during the time I may have written the book while I was writing the book. But anyway, I would like you to I don't quote me on the dates, but I would like you to listen to these videos if you wanted to understand the book in a better way, and so that that these books actually this video series actually talks about a lot of financial aspects of your day of your financial life. So, and the book Financial Freedom, Fictional Financial Plan actually talks about the small business and professional corporations and integration of the business owners, both the personal finance and the corporate finance, how to integrate them. Not them integrate you cannot integrate the business transactions, but you could integrate some concepts, and you could actually build a financial plan that is very concrete and rigid by using the both method, so that the business owner or the professional would accumulate more wealth over time than if it was done only in a personal only on the basis of personal financial planning. You'd have to excuse me. I do still have a problem today again on my on my voice a little bit. But anyway, if you have problems understanding, please send me an email on my email, which is rahman.mijanur9@gmail.com. For some reason, I am not available on my for some reason I was having difficulty getting calls on my phone, but I think the best way to reach me at this point would be the email, which is Rahman RAHMAN.mijanur9@gmail.com. My contact and my phone contact and my email address is actually listed on pretty much every videos that I produced, pretty much. If not, so you could comment there so I could update those information. Also, if you have any questions, comments that you want to know, you can certainly ask me via email, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Okay. Second, so by now, the second series of the Financial Planning Tacit Knowledge series, you have some idea on the public financing and private financing of a project or expansion of your business. So these gives you basic, the fundamentals, the basic concepts. Many years ago in 2005, when I first opened my retail venture, but I incorporated the company in 2004, but I did not get into the business up until 2005. I didn't, I retained a law firm, and I didn't really get much of it. Back then, I think I did receive some advice at the beginning, but for some reason, shortly after, I wasn't getting any advice. Since 2006, when I opened the second part of the same business, but the second. When I expanded my business, I didn't get any advice on that and so forth. But after 2005, I didn't really get much of business advice from the legal firm, the law firm that I retained. So for the very same reason, what I went through, I really, really recommend that your lawyer, your legal team provides you and gives you more advice, gives you a lot of information. And also you should know this: once a lawyer takes you as a client, he just can't get out from that, from advising you, because it would be unethical for him to, because he may as a lawyer, he may not take you as a client, but once he takes you as a client, it becomes, especially in a legal industry, I think it becomes more ethical side of the business to provide support and carry on the carry on advising you. Also keep in mind, legal is not only law is not only a profession, it's also a business. So be aware of that. And so don't be a victim of a repeat business, than rather be, see if you could have, I don't want to give you bad advice, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm only sharing some information, insights, so you could make better decision for yourselves. And I want you to be very successful in business life and whatever you do, because I believe something, which is we could grow together. We could, you don't have to push down someone's head and then raise your feet, look taller to grow rich or grow big. Okay, so that doesn't really work. But I believe in that. If I believe that by together, whoever I'm working with, if they become rich, if they become richer, if they become wealthier, then I might have a better chance of becoming wealthier and richer as well. So in Bengali, there's a proverb, but I don't, I better not use that. But anyway, so the second book, which is the Financial Freedom, Entrepreneurship, this book would deal with a lot of corporate financing, the corporation, the business, a lot of business decision-making process, and the a lot of financing for the business. And also it'll talk about certain industry, certain regulated industry of the business, and also we'll be talking about banks, of the chartered bank. And I wouldn't get into the any other banks other than chartered bank, and their banking policies, and what to look for within the banking industry. Because over the time I was also I think you had the privilege of knowing, because there was a time that still I don't have access to many of I'm not sure why, but I don't have access to a lot of my banking from the person. I don't want to tell you this. So, but there's a lot of litigations that I had to go through. I still going through with the banking and that involved the personal banking and the corporate banking as well. But so let's focus on let's focus on something that is very important. And I end up learning, actually. I actually learned a lot of things when I didn't have a lawyer to guide me through actually those litigation process that I filed about four lawsuits. One of them that involves the I do not take the name of the bank. There are four Canadian bank. Yes, there are four. There are three Canadian banks that I actually placed a civil claim, brought civil action against them, and then there's also I brought a civil claim against the various legal professionals who didn't update me over the years. But at the same time, I remained reasonable at all time to make sure that and I believe something, which is by working together, we can only grow richer, and we can only become more successful by working together, by working efficiently, by working effectively. I believe something, which is if we are not efficient, then we are not effective. And if we are not informed in this world, in this economy, in this era, information is the key. If without the information, we cannot make the right decision. If I don't have information, I cannot make the right decision. And I'll tell you this, because a lot of professionals actually supposed to give you advice, and some of the advice, and these informations are not public. They are not actually provided to you, and it's cost you money to get those information. And there's a lot of unnecessary information at the, in a lot of places you could get, but it's a good idea to read books. So there are probably, a lot of information are available in good, in library, in you could buy books from the various, a bookstore. Often you could buy from the online, or you could buy going to this bookstore, or you could borrow from library, whichever it is. But spend some time learning if you're a business owner, if you're a professional, and so forth. If I didn't learn, I still, I went through a very difficult process when I still don't have access to my banking. There is still matters at the court, but I don't want to get into the discussion of such in this video. But I only brought it up so that you can understand what is very important for you to know, for you to understand how to protect yourself. And it's very important because no one can love you more than you do. No one can protect you more than you do. No one can take care of you more than you do. And I learned this because I depended, and I depended on the professionals. I thought I would get some feedback, get some information, but I didn't. And I learned in a very difficult way. And I'm passing this on to you so that you don't make that same mistake. Many, many years ago, when I was a student at the it's a school in Borishal called Bangladesh, Udayan High School. And I had a teacher, he was the vice principal. And he said to me in a class one day, I told everyone, if you have to get experience by learning, it's the best experience you could ever earn. But not all experiences can be earned or learned. Therefore, you might, by listening, and by learning, you might gather experience as well. So one of the examples that he used, I still remember, and I don't want to take his name today, but I want to thank him for that advice, that you don't want to put your head underneath the track tire and wanted to find out how it really, how it feels when it bursts out, when it gets squashed. You don't want to feel that. It's not a good feeling, is it? Because you can't really explain that, you can't use that experience for any of the life part. It's not a good example, but I brought it up. I gave it, I shared that with you so that you could understand that not all experience can be earned or learned. We must gather experience from learning from the others, from books, from observing. A lot of things we learn just by observation, just by observing people. And in life, we do make a lot of decisions, and our decisions must be informative. We must analyze decision. We do want to make decision that is not all the time a spontaneous decision works, but it's good to be spontaneous so that this if you have information, if you have knowledge, if you are expert in that particular area, you can make a spontaneous decision. To make a spontaneous decision, you really have to be knowledgeable. You really have to be informative. You really have all the facts in place so that you can, and also you also want to look into the legal side of it as well before you make decisions. Now, because of our limitations, we cannot possibly know everything, and every area is So let's say, for example, there's a lot of areas in accounting. You might want to get a very expert opinion from the specialized accountant. So if you go into a pension funds, there's a pension accountant. If you go to the accountant that works in investment, mostly prepares discusses or analyze the financial part, the very financial part of the investment. They only focus on that particular niche market. So in a financial statement, you see a lot of sectors, right? So in life, there are a lot of experts. There's a lot of areas that requires a specialty, right? So if you go to this is an example that often I use. If you have a cardiac problem, and if you go to a general doctor, they can't help you. They don't have to send back to the cardiac doctor. If you require a neurosurgeon and they send you a feet surgeon, it doesn't work, right? So if they both are doctors, right? But one might be operating on the brain, the other might be operating on the feet, or the other might be operating on some part of the body, kidney, or internal, medicine, internal doctor, or something. I'm not really expert in this medicine industry, so I don't want to give you the bad examples. But just I thought, I thought you get the idea is that we need all the experts. the right experts for the right advice, right? So, and often we don't have that. And you need to be very careful. And I think a lot of time your oppositions or parties, they don't want you to, they will if the parties are large, they'll probably affect your communication so that you cannot get better advice. So let's say if you have a competitors, or if you have in a litigation process or anything, if you have or you might be, they'll try to hurt you, they'll try to put you down, or they'll try to sabotage you by accessing information. Because if you don't get the right information, then you cannot get ahead. Once I called the Ministry of Labor a long time ago, and I was given wrong information that that should have been gone to Industry Canada rather than the Ministry of Labor. The Ministry of Labor asked me to file something with them, but as a result, later turns out it has to be submitted to the Industry Canada. See the information, the controlling of information. As a result, I filed the claim, or the file the submissions with wrong agency, regulatory bodies. I was a victim after that. So I was a victim of not having the right information, and I suffered because of not able to go to the. I let them know what happened, but it's too late, right? So it's a good idea to, and also in this if you are calling if you're listening to this video, if you're a government, or if you are a regulatory agencies, or if you are a bank, or if you are anyone whose decision might affect someone else's life severely and significantly, it's a good idea to provide the right information, and it's also a good idea not to sabotage someone, because we depend on other people's advice, and if we often we don't have a lot of people, they don't have access to legal advice, and they depend on the information they get from from the government, or their trusted banking, or their advisors, and so forth, right? So this is something that you do want to take a look at it. But this is the video number 8, and I do want to talk to you about this for the Financial Planning Tacit Knowledge series, because I wanted to share this information with you, so that and again, the litigations takes a lot of time. It's time consuming. Those 4 cases that I brought personally, and I didn't want to tell you this because so that you don't become a victim, and you don't want to be you don't want to waste your time, because as a non-lawyer like me, I may not be effective. I may be able to carry on a case in a certain time frame. I may be able to win. I may be able to, but it would be easier for a legal person, who would have a lot of knowledge within the legal area, to win the case easier, most effective and easiest way. Maybe I had to, as a person, I probably have to go through a lot of rigid process of, learning and reading and understanding and so forth, right? So if this can be avoided, and I don't have to, the time I spent on this, I could have spent time, within my accounting and finance and financial planning and in this industry. But I spent a lot of time learning about those how to work with the court, how to file the civil claims, how to write motions, and how to respond to a motion, how to talk to a judge. Before 2016, 2017 actually, first case I took up, and I started learning. I took that case personally myself. But when I didn't get any advice and I wasn't updated for any cases that the law firms or the lawyers was taking on. And I'm not, I think they probably have the reasons of not advising, not informing me. I'm sure they probably explained it to the court. But this is how I feel. And that's why I gave you the advice. If at any time, if you have the ability to change or to get better lawyers, or retain better lawyers, a better law firm, you should do that. And as a lawyer, it's a good idea too, because a lot of people that depend on your service of getting legal advice. If the business is not legal, they can no longer carry on. If the person's life is not legal, they will have difficulty to find better life, right? So and again, your best friend often, like I said, often you could get better advice, you get advice from the government, but when they're against you, then your only friend is your legal team or your financial advisors or whoever you privately retain. So, but I'm not trying to put down any regulations, or I'm not trying to say anything against them, but I'm just trying to tell you. And the fact is that because what I went through with these civil cases that I took on, and I learned something, is that if these cases were dealt by if I didn't have to deal with it, I could have spent more time. But I'm glad, and I'm thankful to myself, and well, the reason I'm thankful to myself, because I spent the time in learning those matters, and now I can say that I can if there is a problem, I can within a certain degree of confidence, I could walk up to a courtroom, or I could walk up to a judge, and I could briefly address my concern, and they might be able to understand me. Because a lot of time I learned something. They don't in a court, when you go there, they speak legal, they speak their own language. Every profession has their own language, right? So, and it took me some time. I still don't know all of this, but because I'm still learning, right? So, but it's a good idea. And I noticed something, is that the more you learn, the better for you. The more you learn, the better equipped you are to deal with problems, right? And not all the time. The life is not always gonna throw lemonade at you again, but they might throw a lot of lemons at you, and so let's make lemonade out of it. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about those, because those are very important. I felt to let you know how you might be, as a business or as a professional, there would be a time that you may have to represent yourselves, right? It's not uncommon. It can happen at any time. There might be various positions that are working against you if you're in a business, right? If you're a business owner, or if you're even a professional, they might work against you. Even the regulations, sometimes they work against you. They can, because they also have a fiduciary duty to others as well, right? But at the same time, I wanted to share this with you, because only you can protect yourself. Only I can protect myself. And no one can love me more than I do. No one can love you more than you do. No one can love your family more than you do. Only you can love your family more than anybody else, because they are part of your family, they're part of your life, right? No one can love your business more than you do, because you've created that, right? But at the same time, the professional that you carry on or you retain, they have fiduciary duty to you, or even the whoever takes on your case, or whoever actually provide you advice, or your bank, or any agency, or where there is an agent's agreement there, where that some agency agreement can form naturally, and they are allowed to protect you, they're allowed to guide you through, they're allowed to protect your wealth and a certain act, right? So it can, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not a lawyer, right? So again, do not invest based on this video. Do not invest, and do not take this as legal advice. This is not a legal advice. I cannot give you legal advice. I can only share my experience and my knowledge with you, and do not use this as a decision-making process in your life. You should always, you could listen to it, and you could listen to it and decide for yourself what in your circumstances. But every circumstances are different. Every circumstances is different, and different from the others, right? So, but the more cases, the more cases we analyze, the more problems we analyze, the better equipped we are to make a better decision, right? So, by learning from, by listening to my, my personal experience, my understanding, and my, reading my books, reading my advice, or not advice, reading my opinions would probably give you some insights, right? And you could make better decision for yourself, right? And you could also compare with other writers, other authors, other commentators, other, bloggers, right? Or you could, your financial advisors, or your investment advisors, or your bankers, or your lawyers, or the government regulations, or the, but you must listen to everyone. And if you get the opportunity, and you can make a better decision for yourself, right? But getting the advice is a problem. And a lot of people, they hold information, they don't give you the right information, which I faced, right? Over the quite at least last 5 to 6 years. I was always given incorrect information, even over the phone, even in person as well. So beware of that. Okay, beware of that. And that's when I decided to share my opinion. I want to leave something for people who can, who suffer, people who actually became a victim of an unjust, so that they could make a better decision for themselves by reading. Because again, I'm telling you this, no one can love you more than you love yourself. No one can protect you more than you can protect yourself. But you must work towards it. You must trust someone else. You must gain trust of others, right? So, or you must share what you're going through with the others, so they can understand you and they can give you right advice, right? And I believe everyone everyone has good intention. Everyone is born with reasonable, with reasonable conscience. Everyone has the good in themselves, right? Not, and that's the hope that we have for the society, for the human, right? Because we are human, right? But anyway, I want to talk about I drift away from the talking about the financial to the, from financial side to personal. I don't want to talk to you about it because if I, the reason I was able to give you that book or those books or those advice or the financial planning tacit knowledge is video, because I went through a rigid learning process, right? My experiences allowed me to produce those visions, produce those comments, those opinions, those my readings, my what I've learned through what I went through, right? What I, from my education, from my job, from my business experience, from my personal experiences, a lot of my personal dealings with the business owners, my personal dealings with professionals, and so forth. And I can only share that with you so that you could listen from it and make better decision for yourself by comparing with the others, because you need a lot of information to make better decision for yourself, right? Now, anyway, let's get back to I want to talk to you about the special arrangement on the over-the-counter trading. So this video will talk about the over-the-counter trading, right? So I wanted to make that a special I'll talk about very little bit about this. This is what a lot of things you can do. It can be very, very articulate. Not you, but your broker, or your broker dealer network can be very proactive and they can be more creative, they can be more insightful, they can be more they can give you more information, they can help you in a very effective way, because your business secrets, not secrets, but your business knowledge, tacit knowledge. You don't want to give that out to competitors, right? So often it's a good idea to structure your finance through privately, or at the very least by the by over-the-counter trading, right? So that's something that you could finance your business through the over-the-counter trading, or you could finance your projects, or you could raise capitals through the over-the-counter. Now, as I mentioned, on the over-the-counter, you have it's actually required listing, right? So over-the-counter requirement there are some requirement for listing to be listed on the over-the-counter, right? And so as a firm, I mean, as a firm or a business can list their OTC stock in more than one stock exchange, right? So that's something that I believe I have talked about it. I'm not sure, but anyway. Now, OTC, not formally, so the OTC is not formally listed, and it has less regulations. These are the something that you should know. It's not formally listed like if you go to TSX, or if you go to NASDAQ, which is the National Association of Securities Dealers. If you go there, you'll type up a name with the syntax, then you'd probably, that company would come up, right? And you could, let's say you wanted to search Google on the 10K report, or see on the excuse me, on their listing, on their listing agent, the stock exchange. So you'll be able to punch in there, or type in their syntax or the company short name, and then or probably the full name, the company's information will come, right? So, but with the OTC, it's not listed, but they deal other way, right, with pink sheets and so forth. But anyway, so it's less regulated.